Hi there, for today's Read Aloud, we'll be reading a little biography over Albert Einstein. So this story will go over Albert Einstein's life. So right here we have a text feature, table of contents. It lets us know the different information we are about to be reading, such as my story, which is on page 4, timeline, page 22, glossary, page 24, index, page 24. Remember, table of contents is a text feature, and so is glossary and index. Okay, so here's bigger text. So this book has a bunch of text features I really want you to pay attention to. So go ahead and take a moment and think of what you think we'll be reading about, what we'll be noticing in this story. All right, let's go ahead and get started on our story. Albert Einstein. It's right here. My story. This is the heading. It's just to the side. I was born in 1879 in Germany. I had a younger sister. So here's an actual photograph of Germany. My father showed me a compass. Here's a compass. Notice this is a bold word, a bold text is standing out. I was 5 years old. I wanted to know what controlled the needle. See the needle? I liked figuring things out. He was curious. So here's a photograph. And I'm going over these because I want you to notice the text features. This is a bold text. This is a photograph. People thought I was not smart, but I learned to play the violin. I taught myself math. What would you teach yourself? So if you could pick something that you could learn, that you wanted to learn, what would you do? What would you teach yourself? Give you a moment to think about it. All right, what do you think? What are some things that you would teach yourself? I think I would like to learn how to play an instrument like the violin. I think I would teach myself that if I could. I grew up around smart people. My father and uncle were engineers. So here's a picture of two engineers. Is it a picture or a photograph? A photograph taken with a camera. I went to college in Switzerland. I studied to be a teacher, but I couldn't find a job. What jobs do your parents have? What job would you like to have one day? Okay, and you're just thinking this to yourself. You don't have to shout out or anything. You're just thinking this to yourself. Instead, I worked at an office. I wrote 300 papers in my free time. They were about physics. So that's a type of science. So here is another photograph, little typewriter. I became famous for my ideas. My work led to the atomic bomb being made. I didn't help build it. I didn't like war. He just had the science behind it. I won the Nobel Prize. This is the third person we're reading about who has won a Nobel Prize. Marie Curie, Gabrielle Mistral, and now Albert Einstein. Remember, it's a very important award. I changed how people studied math and science. What would you like to change? Now, this is a question I'm going to give you some extra time to think about, because I would like, if you're at school, maybe you can pause the video and you can share out loud. So go ahead and take a moment and think about it. I'll give you some time. All right, if you're at school and you're sharing your answers, you need more time, pause the video. Okay, but I'm going to keep reading. I passed away in 1955. I loved sharing what I learned. My discoveries helped shape today's world. So here's a photograph of Albert Einstein. This is not a drawing, it's a photograph taken with a camera. So what are some things that you are still curious about about Albert Einstein? What are something else that you would like to learn about him? Give you a moment to think about it. This is something you're thinking to yourself. Okay, need more time, pause the video. Now here's a timeline. This is one of those things that we notice in biographies. 1870, he was born in 1879, 1901. Remember this? What was this page? Let's go back and read what it was. Oops, skipped it. Instead, I worked at an office. I wrote over 300 papers in my free time. They were all about physics. So on this one, oopsie, this is whenever he was learning and writing about physics. 1921, this is whenever he won the Nobel Prize. And then in 1955, he passed away. Yes, sorry, I just wanted to check the year, 1921. Okay, so let's go ahead and look real quick at the glossary since we're focusing on text features. Let's see, engineers. That was one of those bold words that stood out, letting us know, hey, that's important. But if you want to know more about the word, go check it out in the glossary. So that's what we're doing. Engineers, people who are specifically trained to design and build machines or large structures such as bridges and roads. And then here's Nobel Prize. Let's go ahead and read it, since that's what we've been learning about all these people who have been winning this amazing award. An award that encourages people to work hard in fields that help all people. It is given out every year. Okay? So let's go ahead and go over biography real quick. Biographies tell the life of a real person. So Albert Einstein was a real person, yes? Yes. Did we learn about different events that happened throughout his life? Yes. Did we learn about where he lived and worked and traveled? Yes. Did we learn about why he was important? Yes. And then one other thing I want to go over is, did we notice any text features? Let's go ahead and go back to the beginning of the book, because I'm going to quickly just review the book, because I want you, for your reading activity today, to write one thing you learned about Albert Einstein, okay? So one thing, so as I'm reviewing this, you need to pick one or more things that you want to write about. So I was born in 1879 in Germany. He had a younger sister, so he was born in Germany. His father showed him a compass, and when he was 5 years old. So when he was 5, so when you're 5, you're in kindergarten. That's how little he was. He wanted to know more about it. He was wondering, how does that needle move? He's trying to figure it out. So his father and uncle were engineers. He went to college in Switzerland. He studied to be a teacher, but he couldn't find a job. Instead, he worked at an office where he wrote over 300 papers in his free time. They were all about physics. So he became famous for his ideas, and then he won a Nobel Prize in, right here, I changed how people studied math and science. So what I'd like for you to do is take a moment and think of one thing you learned about Albert Einstein. I'll give you some time to think about it. All right, on the next slide, you're going to have the opportunity to talk about what you learned from today's biography over Albert Einstein. I hope you enjoyed today's read aloud.